We all have the same 24 hours in a day, but some people seem to get so much more into and out of their days. And if you'd like to know how they manage it, then stick around because I'm going to be sharing 6 of their secrets. Time is our most precious resource. We can't make more of it. It's also the great leveller. We all get the same 24 hours a day, 7 days in the week. However, have you noticed how some people just seem to get so much more done, get so much more out of each day? If you often feel like there are more tasks than there is time available, or you frequently get to the end of the day knowing that you are busy without a moment to sit down, but you finish out the day wondering where the heck it went and why you've got so little to show for it, then stick around as I am going to be sharing 6 tips to help you manage your time better and get more out of each day. So step number 1 is to keep a time log, at least for 24 hours, preferably a whole week. Because what this will do is help you understand where your time is going right now, what things are taking up a lot of your time, what things are stealing your time without you even realising it. So whether you do it on pen and paper, whether you have Excel, whether you use an app like Toggl, doesn't really matter. The key thing is to actually do it. And there's really 2 things that come out of this. The first is that when we are faced with having to write it down and to own up to the fact that we hopped into our email 15 times a day, that we kept going into Facebook, and that whilst we were telling ourselves that we were there for 5 minutes, actually it was 25 minutes each time. So when we're faced with having to own up to that and write it down, it actually stops us before we do it. We don't want to have to own up to it, so we don't do that behaviour. So very often I see people getting their time back that way. The other benefit of keeping a time log is that we see how long tasks really take, because very often when we are planning out our day, trying to decide what we'd like to get done that day, we think, well, I'd like to get this and this and this and that done, and we think, well, if they all go best case scenario, then I'm sure I can get them all in. Once we start to time log it, we see that actually all those things that we think, oh, there may be a 20-30 minute task, end up being closer to 40 to 60 minutes. Those things that we thought were a 60-minute task end up taking 90 minutes. If we start to spot that pattern, then we can stop ourselves from overcommitting, and this has 2 benefits. For a start, you don't feel so stressed because you don't feel like you're behind all the time, but also when you're choosing what to put into your day, because you're choosing the right amount of tasks, it forces you to prioritise and really choose the tasks that are important to you. Step 2 is to look at whether you have a wish list or a to-do list. A to-do list is a nice focus list of things that you really do need or want to get done that day. However, a lot of people have a wish list. This is a list of all the things that would be nice to get done today, or that somebody's asked them to do, or that's been lurking for a while and they're feeling guilty about. And this long list is really unhelpful. For a start, you end up wasting time reading through it over and over again every time you're trying to decide what to do next. Secondly, there's no sense of priority on that list. You're scanning through, you're maybe picking off the quickest task to do, the easiest task to do, but they're not necessarily the tasks that are really going to move you forwards on your goals. And that's why you can get to the end of the day and think you've been busy, but got nothing to show for it. A great big long wish list can also be really distracting. Yes, you might have your priorities on there, but every time you see that priority, you can also see a million other things that could be given your time. And the temptation is, especially if that Meaningful task is a little bit scary, is to be distracted by some of these easier, less intimidating tasks. So what you need to do here is to distinguish between your wish list, which is a bit of a brain dump list of all the things you could be, should be, would like to be doing, but instead from that, create a to-do list for each day, a really focused, prioritized list that probably has 2 or 3 significant tasks that move you towards long-term goals, and then just a few smaller tasks that will fit in around that. Step 3 follows on from that idea of a wish list and a to-do list. How is it that you're supposed to decide what comes off the wish list and goes onto the to-do list? Well, this is where you need to prioritise, and you need to distinguish between important and urgent. So urgent tasks are those that have some sort of deadline that's quite close by, and where there might be some sort of consequence, some sort of downside to not getting it done before that deadline. Important tasks may or may not have a deadline, but they're the ones that in a month, 6 months, a year's time that you will value having done. The trouble is that when we're prioritising, we look at those urgent tasks and go, oh, if I don't do that urgent task, I'll miss that deadline, I'll incur that consequence. And it's really obvious what that consequence is. What we don't do is go, okay, if I miss that deadline, yes, that will be the downside. But what we don't look at is, if I didn't do it and did something else instead, what is the upside of doing that? And is that upside bigger than the downside of the urgent but unimportant task that we've chosen not to do in that time slot? Step 4 is to look at batching your tasks. For any task that you do, there tends to be a sort of start-up time whilst you get the software open, you get the tools out, you get your head in gear, you get the information together. And every time you switch between tasks, you've got to go through that startup cost, and also there's a sort of close down time as well. So the more tasks of a similar type that you can do together, the less you have in the way of that startup cost. So when you're looking at your wish list, what you might want to do when you're prioritizing is to look for similar tasks for particular days or particular times of the day, so that you can get efficiency from not having that start up and close down. But it also means that once you get into those tasks, you really hit that state of flow, that zone where you become oblivious to what's around you. Your mind starts to connect the seemingly unconnected dots. And when you look up after an hour, instead of thinking, I've spent an hour and have been pulled here, there and everywhere and don't seem to have done anything, you look up at the end of the hour and go, wow, that all flowed and I've got so much done. Step 3 is to use your calendar. Things that can happen at any time often happen at no time. So what we want to do now is get you to use steps 1 to 4 to make sure that the right things happen at the right time. So starting with step 2, getting that wish list and turning it into a to-do list by applying step 3 and prioritizing. And once you've prioritized your most important task, you can go back to step 1, your time log, and be really clear about how much time that task takes. From that, you can then look at your calendar and find a time slot that matches, that you're not trying to squish too much into too little time. And once you've done that, you can see how much more time you've got around that and look at step 4 to see whether there are any other tasks that could be batched in with that most important task. And you keep going through this process until your calendar is comfortably full, but you're not overcommitted, that there's a little bit of white space to deal with life's unexpected, but you haven't left so much white space that you're tempted to procrastinate and put things off. Step 6 is to plan out your planning. Steps 1 to 5 don't happen by accident, they happen by design. So I always compare this to when your teachers are getting you ready for your exams. Although you've only got a limited amount of time in your exam to get down your answers, you're always advised to spend the first 10 minutes looking through the questions and thinking about everything that you've learnt in the previous probably couple of years and deciding on what the most relevant information is, so that that's what you squeeze into the next 2-3 hours. Planning out your day is very similar, where you're looking for what you could put into the day and planning out your most important tasks that are going to give you the most progress, the most sense of satisfaction, so that you round out the day with a sense of achievement. So step 6 is to plan out when you're going to do your planning. So you probably just need 10 minutes at the end of the day, and in that 10 minutes you're going to look at what did or didn't get done that day, so that you can give yourself a pat on the back for what did get done. And you're not going to beat yourself up for anything that didn't get done. What you're going to do is ask yourself, why didn't it get done, so that you can learn and improve your planning going forwards. You can also look back at what cropped up during the day that really did come out of left field, that you weren't expecting, and sort of think about how that's going to impact on your plans for the next day, the next week, the next month. And once you've taken stock of what's already happened, you can look ahead to the next day and go through that process of planning the most important tasks into your calendar so that you get them done. Taking this 10 minutes will not only mean that you're better planned for the next day, that you can hit the deck running in the morning, but it also means that you can switch off for the evening guilt-free. You know exactly what you need to be doing the next day. You're not worrying about what you could be, should be, would like to be doing the next day. And then as it becomes a pattern, you knock off guilt-free, because you really do start getting through those most important things on your to-do list, and so you can round out the day saying, no, I've done really well today, I've got lots done, I can have the evening off feeling really pleased with myself, no guilt there. So I'd love it if you could pop in the comments how many things you've got on your to-do list right now, and whether actually it's a wish list. And I'd also love it if you could share which of the tips you found most useful and are going to put into practice today. If you found this video useful, then do hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on my weekly productivity tips, techniques, strategies and hacks. If you'd like even more help increasing your productivity, then do check out the description below, where you'll find the link to 10 top tips to save an hour each day. As well as releasing the weekly videos on Thursdays here on YouTube, I also go live in my Facebook group, the Purposeful Productivity Posse, every Tuesday with a new topic each week. So if you want to come and join the conversation on that and ask me any questions as I go live, it would be lovely to see you in there.